morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at a deck over in Japan that, well, it basically plays everything. We've looked at a Mega Sableye and Tyranitar winning deck. We've looked at an Umbreon and Darkrai winning deck. But how about a deck that plays both of those, and Guzzlord, and Weavile, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a little bit similar to some of the Darkness decks we've looked at over the past week or two, but essentially this just does a little bit of everything. So, starting off then, let's start off with Umbreon and Darkrai. I love me some Umbreon and Darkrai. So Umbreon and Darkrai is one of these new ones. It's going to be coming out in Unified Minds. And, well, the main attack here, what it really does for one Darkness, a second Darkness, and a Colorless, does 150 to the active, 60 to the bench. Now, that's fine, but that's the point at which we bring in Mega Sableye and Tyranitar. Because for 5 energy, 4 Darkness, and a Colorless, you do 110 damage, but if you KO an EX or a GX, you take an extra prize. Downside of Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, 210. I mean, look, it'll get a bunch of stuff. You come across something like a Dedenne, that Dedenne's going down. Even up to most Stage 1 GXs, think something like a Naganadel GX, you'll get the KO. But bigger GXs, and especially tag teams, you're just not there. So what you do is you use Darkrai and Umbreon, or Umbreon and Darkrai as it actually is. And now, after you hit them on the bench for 60 and then bring in Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, now you're hitting 270. Now, Mega Sableye and Tyranitar itself, and Magikarp and Wailord will be out of range here. But outside of that, you are literally KOing every single Pokemon in the game. Which means you could potentially take 4 prizes from one attack with this. Now, especially if you can KO a supporting Pokemon using Umbreon and Darkrai, maybe something like a Naganadel, and then take a KO on a tag team GX with Mega Sableye and Tyranitar using the 60 you just did, that could be it. That could be the entire game. Well, alright, you'd need to KO one more Pokemon, but one more little Pokemon, and that's the entire game. These two as a pair work really, really nicely together. Really nicely together. Now, you do need to have energy here, and what we use is a combination of Naganadel and Weavile. So, the new Weavile GX has an amazing ability that lets you move your Darkness energy around the board as you like, very much like the old Hydreigon from Dragons Exalted. And Naganadel has an ability whereby once during your turn you may attach a basic energy from the discard pile to itself. Oh, cool. Well, that's quite nice. So what you essentially do here is use Naganadel to attach the energy to itself, and then Weavile to move the energy around. And that's how you end up with the energy on here nicely. Now, there is another attacker here that really pulls this apart from other similar decks, and it's Guzzlord GX. Guzzlord GX is awesome. Guzzlord GX, now it's only 2 prizes, not 3, which is still weird saying only 2 prizes. And 5 energy, 180, cool. Or 5 energy, 100 damage, take 2 extra prizes if you knock out an opponent's Pokemon. Now, this isn't going to KO a Tag Team GX unless you already hit it with something else, but it will KO something like a Jirachi, except when you KO a Jirachi with this, you take 3 prizes. 3 prizes! Off a Jirachi! And that's kind of the point here. This cheats prizes in the same way as Mega Sableye and Tyranitar cheats prizes. And it's again 5 energy. We're only playing basic Darkness here, so it's essentially the same cost. So you're cheating prizes here, and you're using a lot of energy. But the key thing is, you're not taking the right number of KOs here. I mean, KOing a non-GX with this, and then a GX with Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, 2 attacks, that's it. That's the entire game. You've won. That's pretty gosh darn good. Now, in terms of the GX, you have got a decision to make here. Because on the one hand, you've got Guzzlord's GX attack, and that's awesome. But then we've also got a GX attack for Mega Sableye Tyranitar. It's 10 energy, which is hugely expensive, but it does do 250 damage and discard the top 15 cards of your opponent's deck. Yeah, that's pretty gosh darn good. If they've got 15 or fewer cards left in deck, that will literally win you the game there and then, as they won't be able to draw a card at the beginning of their next turn and they will lose. But then you've also got Umbreon and Darkrai's GX attack, which, if you've got 6 energy on, instant KO on anything, including a Tag Team GX, and your opponent cannot play any trainer cards from their hand during their next turn. You've got 3 really good GX attacks here. Now, one's for 5 energy, one's for 6 energy, one's for 10 energy. So it's going to take a lot, but you're going to have a pretty good GX attack to use at some point here. And the theory is that you just pick whichever of these 3 Pokemon is best at this particular moment, and you use Naganadel and Weavile to get the energy on. And in terms of other Pokemon, you've literally got a Dedenne. That's it. You are playing one single solitary Dedenne, and that's everything. What confuses me a little bit here, there's no Beast Ring. Now, it's a space issue here, and it runs well enough without it. But the fact of the matter is, Beast Ring gets 2 extra energy in a deck which is incredibly energy hungry. And you can attach it to Guzzlord and then move it around the field using Weavile. This deck doesn't play Beast Ring. And this did win a tournament over in Japan. Remember, all the Japanese deck lists I show you, unless I say otherwise, are all winning deck lists. But I would certainly, and I will certainly be testing this out. I am definitely going to have a little bit of a play with this, because this seems like a little bit of fun. So in terms of the trainer cards here then, we've got 3 copies of Nespal, because Nespal gets your basics, that's pretty gosh darn important. And we've got a couple copies of Ultra Ball, which can search out any of your Pokemon, basic or otherwise. Now, we've got 4 copies of Pokegear 3.0. This is a deck, and Pokegear 3.0 sees a huge amount of play, but this is a deck which is relying on stuff like supporters rather than Pokemon search. You've got 1 Dedenne to draw some cards, and you've got 5 Ball Search cards. Really, we're going supporters here. And we've got 3 copies of Lily, which is some great draw. And then we've got a couple copies of Sightseer. Now, Sightseer is really good here because you get to discard cards from your hand before you draw, and you need energy in a discard in order to recover it using Naganadel. We got a couple copies of Cynthia, which is a nice little bit of shuffle draw there. It's a really good draw supporter. So we've got a few options there, shall we say. 3 copies of Guzma for both switching and dragging Pokemon active. Remember, this is a deck that can take extra prizes when it takes a KO, so you really do need to be able to manipulate it to take the right KO at the right time. We've got 1 copy of Ace Roller. You're playing Tag Team GXs. They give up free prizes. This lets you pick them up so they don't get KO'd. Seems like a no-brainer. And 2 copies of Nanu. Now, Nanu here is phenomenal. Nanu is a great card. It lets you swap any Pokemon you've got on your field for a basic Darkness Pokemon in your discard pile. And you keep all the energy, etc. But you've got 3 Pokemon here that you're using as attackers, all of which are basic Darkness Pokemon. So the theory here is extremely simple. You just make sure that you grab Nanu, and then you can switch around whichever Pokemon you want. That is going to help you out very, very nicely indeed. Now, in terms of stadiums, we got 1 Black Market Prism Star, which shouldn't surprise you. Means you give up 1 fewer prize when you're KO'd if you got a Darkness energy attached to you, and you're a Darkness Pokemon. And then we see 2 copies of Night City. Night City gives free retreat to basic Darkness Pokemon. All your main attackers, all your attackers really, are basic Darkness Pokemon. Yeah, that's going to help you out pretty nicely here. And in terms of other item cards, we see a Field Blower to get rid of tools and stadiums, a couple of Choice Bands to do a little bit of extra damage, 1 Pokemon Communication to swap a Pokemon you don't want in your hand for a Pokemon you do want in your deck. Probably should have mentioned that back when I talked about the ball cards, but I won't tell anyone if you don't. 1 copy of Reset Stamp. We see this in basically every Japanese deck at the moment. It's just great. Your opponent shuffles a hand into their deck and draws cards equal to their remaining prizes. If your opponent takes a lead, this is phenomenal. You get to slow them down. And 2 copies of Max Potion, because Max Potion is a great combo here with Weavile. Weavile lets you move energy around. Max Potion lets you heal all damage off of 1 Pokemon at the cost of discarding all the energy attached to it. So what do you do here? You move the energy off and heal, and you don't discard energy because there aren't any energy to discard, and then you move the energy back on and attack. It's really nice. I'm a fan of this, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, 1 Rescue Stretcher, 2 Rescue Stretcher, just to get your Pokemon back. This is a fun deck. It's kind of like a Mega Sableye Tyranitar deck. It's kind of like a Darkrai Umbreon deck. But what this deck does so beautifully is it cheats prizes and gives you options. And given that the whole point of the game is taking 6 prizes most of the time, that's going to help you out. Yes, it's an energy-hungry deck. Yes, there will be games you struggle to set up, and there's nothing you can do about that. But there's so much potential here, we have got to have a play. And I'd like to know if you're going to play with it, and how good you think it's going to be when you do, if you do, have a play with it. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. Like Final Fantasy, we just started covering that. Check it out. I'm having a lot of fun. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.